What is one thing that you've wanted to change in your life? And I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's personal or professional, but as a business owner and entrepreneur, there are certain things I'm guessing you want to change. It might be that you're a procrastinator and you want to be more productive. It might be that you want to engage in more marketing in your company. You want to be a better money manager and you've tried a bunch of things, but you just aren't great at managing cash flow. Or maybe you would like to be a better strategist, but you really don't love doing strategy. Or maybe you know you need to create systems, but you're not really a systems person. But chances are there's certain things in your life that you would like to change. And yet, despite everything you've tried to do, you haven't been able to change that thing. And you've probably tried lots of things. You might have signed up for courses. You might have found a coach, or maybe even gone to see a consultant. Maybe you found an accountability partner. Maybe you engaged in some kind of 31-day challenge or 90-day challenge. And at the end of that challenge, you kind of went back to doing what you were doing before. Chances are there's something. So what is one thing that you've wanted to change in your life that you've been trying to change for some period of time and it just hasn't taken? What is that one thing? Just pick one thing. Now, what if you could learn how to change that one thing almost immediately and permanently? Would you want to know what that is? Even better, if you could change that one thing you've been trying to change for a long span of time and you could change it almost immediately and permanently, what kind of impact would that have on you, your life, and your business? My guess is it would be pretty big. So if you'll hang with me for just a few moments, I'm going to give you this one secret. And this one secret could be a game changer for your life and for your business. So to tell you the story of something that happened to me 2 weeks ago, I need to give you the backstory in order for you to understand what happened 2 weeks ago. But if you'll hang with me, I think you'll find that it was worth hanging through the story. So here's the backstory. Back in 2018, in the fall of 2018, my arthritis started getting really bad. So bad that by Thanksgiving time, I could barely use my right hand, especially. Couldn't open up a jar. I couldn't write very well. I was having trouble, taking a cup of water and putting it in the microwave just to nuke it. So, it was really pretty bad. So I go to my eldest daughter, Chelsea's house for Thanksgiving. And the night before, we all go to bed, and I'm still in a lot of pain. And I'm having trouble sleeping, so about 1 o'clock in the morning, I get up and I say, I'm just going to go watch something on Netflix. So I turn Netflix on, I'm scrolling through, and a friend of ours had recommended a movie called The Game Changers. And it's about athletes who are vegan or vegetarian. And so I'm watching this, and it's kind of pretty fascinating. Remember, I'm in a lot of pain, and here's an idea that if I switched what I was eating, I might be able to get rid of some inflammation. And when you're in a lot of pain, you're willing to try anything. But I realized that if I didn't change my mentality, my identity from I'm a carnivore, a meat eater, which I've been doing for 58 years, to being a vegetarian, I knew that I'd immediately go back to being a carnivore. So I need to make a hardcore switch and say I'm a vegetarian. And of all days, on Thanksgiving Day, which was kind of funny. But within 5 days, guess what? The pain had gone. It was amazing, right? But I changed my identity to I'm a vegetarian, and for 2.5 years, I haven't been eating meat. No meat, zero. So that's the background. Now you have to understand what happened 2 weeks ago. So my youngest daughter, Brooke, and her family are coming to visit with us. And as they're coming, I'm going to the grocery store. I'm the guy who does all the cooking in our family. So I go to the grocery store to pick up some food, and I knew that they liked lunch meat. Now, I'm not going to eat it, but that's fine. I don't mind picking it up for somebody else. So I go over to the deli counter at Harris Teeter, and I order some Boar's Head cracked peppermill turkey, which is something I used to love eating for a very long span of time. So I go over, and I place the order. And the lady behind the deli counter starts slicing it. She stops and does what a lot of deli counter people do. She stops, she put a piece on the paper, and she said, would you like a sample? What happened next is what I wanted to share with you. Because what happened next is she reached out, would you like a sample? I literally, viscerally stepped back. It was so funny. I literally stepped back. I didn't do it, but what I wanted to do was go, get away from me, Satan. It was really funny. I literally moved back like I was aghast that she would offer me meat. And I laughed. I said, no, thank you to her. I was polite to her. But internally, I thought, that's interesting. 2.5 years later, I viscerally am moving away from somebody trying to offer me a piece of meat. That made me think a lot about identity. I said, because that change took place. It was because I made an identity change. And for 2.5 years, I haven't eaten any meat. It was identity change. It wasn't just a behavioral change. It was an identity change. And I started thinking back on other things in my life. For example, back in 1980, and I won't tell you the whole story here, I decided that I was going to stop drinking because I drank way too much. I was going to stop drinking. And that was 1980 in January. It's now 41 years later. And guess what? I haven't had a drink in 41 years. Like I've made an identity change. I'm no longer a drinker. I'm now a non-drinker. Decades later, change has been permanent. Around that same time, I used to have a really foul mouth, and I said, I need to stop that. And I said, I'm not a cursor. Like, that's not who I am, right? And if you talk to anyone in over 4 decades, they've never heard me curse. Why? Because I changed my identity, and that was the secret. That's what I've been thinking about the last couple of weeks, that when I'm working with clients, frequently they need to make some changes, but they don't make the changes permanently because they haven't really changed their identity. And we all act congruent with whatever our identity is. Now, remember, this can work on a positive light, but it can also work on the negative, right? So let me give you a negative example. So back in middle school and high school, I was a multi-sport athlete. I know it's hard looking at this body right now, but I used to be a multi-sport athlete. My primary sports were soccer and tennis, and the secondary one was basketball. I stopped playing basketball in high school, but in middle school. So in high school, though, I was first singles on tennis, and I was a starting striker on the high school varsity team as a freshman. So I was a pretty decent athlete. But I trained every day. Like, that's who I was. I was an athlete. So when I went to college, the picture changed. And I started identifying myself as a former athlete. Okay, now notice that. I was an athlete too. I became a former athlete. And in the intervening 4 decades, guess what? I've been an intermittent exerciser. Like every now and then I'll get on a treadmill and I go, this feels good. I used to do this all the time, but I just don't do it consistently. And it dawned on me this weekend. I said, I need to change the identity. I keep calling myself a former athlete. When I talk to my kids, I'll often say, now I know it's hard to believe that I used to be an athlete. Now look, do this thing here. But I used to be. And I said, I need to change my identity and saying, I'm an athlete. And so I made that decision this past weekend. And guess what? I've been working out every day this week. Because when I get up in the morning and go, hey, it's training day. Because that's what I used to do as an athlete, right? Athletes get up and they train. They don't think about, should I work out today? Well, I got other things to do. No, as an athlete, you work out every day. And it's been fascinating to watch in just a week how quick the change has taken place in my mind. And you can ask me 6 months or 2 years or 10 years from now if I'm still thinking like I'm an athlete. But we'll see if the change will be permanent. But right now, I can already tell my brain is thinking differently. It's not asking a question and saying, I'm an athlete. Well, what do athletes do? Well, athletes train. Today, I have to train. Today is legs day, or today is back day, or chest day, or today is my running day. Whatever the thing would be, it's training day. Like, it's different. And that is the same thing for you in whatever you want to change, right? So if you want to become better at managing time, right now you're saying, I'm a procrastinator. That's your identity. You're always going to act congruent with it. So when you try to do things that will make you a better time manager, you're running into a problem because you haven't changed the identity. You're just trying to change the behavior. Whenever you and I try to change the behavior without changing the identity, we always run into trouble. So if you know that you need to grow, to be able to grow and scale your business, you have to create more systems. And you keep thinking, I'm not a systems person. Every time you try to create a system, it's a struggle because in your brain, you're thinking, I'm not a systems person. I really don't like this. It's a struggle because you haven't changed the identity. Now, here's the best thing about your mind. It's an area called neuroplasticity, that your brain literally can change. It doesn't matter what you may have thought for the last X number of decades or years. You can literally change right now, today. It's the fastest way to change anything, by making an identity change. So whatever it is that you need to change, just find the identity behind that. So let's say you came up through the sales function and you know that as a business owner, you need to start doing more marketing. But every time you try marketing stuff, you go, this isn't me. I'm really a salesperson, right? Because salespeople and marketers, they're two completely different kind of people. So you don't consistently do marketing because in your brain, you're thinking, I'm a salesperson, I'm not a marketer. You need to change the identity to, I'm a marketer. That's who I am. And once you start saying I'm a marketer, then you're going to start acting congruent with that. But if you just try to change the behavior and do marketing things by thinking you're a salesperson, it's just not going to work. Another frequent area where we run into this with business owners and entrepreneurs is in the area of leadership. Like they'll say, well, I'm not a leader. Well, as long as you keep telling yourself you're not a leader, you're not going to be doing the leaderly things. You try to cast vision, but you're not going to consistently do it. But if you started thinking of yourself as a leader, that's who I am, then you're going to start thinking, well, what do leaders do? And I need to act consistently with that thing. So in this case here, you'd start saying, well, what do leaders do? Well, they cast vision. So I better start casting vision. And then you're going to think, what else do they do? They communicate continually. So I need to communicate continually with my people instead of, just assuming that they're going to get their stuff done. I need to be a better team builder. So I need to spend more time coaching and developing talent. Right? Once you had changed the identity, then you're going to change the behaviors that fit with the identity. But to try to change behavior without changing identity means you almost always revert to how you actually see yourself. So if you don't see yourself as a great as a great, let's say, manager of money, well, then you need to change the identity and saying, I'm a great money manager. And what do great money managers do? Like, they spend time getting cash reports, and they start figuring out how to manage cash flow. And now they start figuring out how to make better reallocations of resources. But if you keep thinking of yourself as a salesperson and not as a money manager, you're never going to be good at managing the money, and your struggle will always be with your business. So that's the key. If you want to change anything quickly, all you need to do is change the identity. And then once you change the identity, you start asking, okay, what are the behaviors of someone who's like this? And then you start engaging those behaviors. And when you engage in those behaviors, you reinforce that you are in fact that thing. So in my vegetarian example, right, once I decide I'm a vegetarian, I'm sitting down at the table, I say, well, what do vegetarians do? Well, they don't eat the meat. Okay, so I'm not going to eat that. And then if I'm going to do that, well, then I've got to come up with other protein sources. So how am I going to eat different kinds of protein? Where am I going to get that protein? What kind of recipes I'm going to use. And so then I changed the way that I cooked and I shopped and I did, but it all started with the identity change. If you want to change anything in your life quickly and forever, you need to change your identity. And if you change the identity, you'll change the behavior. But don't try going by just changing behavior. It won't work. You'll always revert back to whatever you see yourself as. So today, whatever that one thing is that you're struggling with, make the identity change. Find what is the I am statement that you need to begin to believe, and then own on to that and keep reinforcing it to yourself over the next week and 2 weeks and 3 weeks. Keep saying it to yourself, I am blank. And then what does that kind of person do? Start doing that thing, and that will help reinforce that statement. And you're going to find that in a short span of time, if not that day or that week, you're going to find a change. And if you keep the identity, it will be permanent. And that is the secret. So if you want to grow and scale your business faster, there are certain things that are holding you back. Don't let them hold you back anymore. Change your identity that will engage the right behaviors, and you can grow and scale a great business. So hopefully you found this helpful. If you did, I'd encourage you to hit the subscribe button. If you're listening to this by podcast or watching it by video, just hit the subscribe button, because my commitment to you week in and week out is provide you with actionable ideas and insights that can help you grow and scale a great business that will allow you also to have more time freedom. So I hope you enjoyed this. Until next week, to your accelerate success, Bruce out.